You're watching Type 40 Live with Dan Headley.
It's Tuesday, the 16th of March. It's Tuesday afternoon, and whatever time zone or time stream you're in, it's Type 40 Live this week here on the Spacebook. Whew, how are we? Is spring just around the corner? Is lockdown about to be lifted here in the UK at any rate? And who's this? I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and this is the Spacebook, the best channel that you'd never heard of. This is Type 40 Live. This is the live-streamed arm of everything we do here at the Spacebook concerning Doctor Who, the world's longest-running science fiction TV series. I had an argument with somebody about that this morning. Can you believe the cheek of it? Somebody insisted that The Twilight Zone was now the longest-running science fiction show in the world. Now, I took some time over breakfast to explain to this gentleman why he was wrong. I don't know if he's still talking to me. We'll have to see about that later on. But yeah, is the jury still out on that? Does it still count as the world's longest running science fiction show in the world with that big gap in the middle? I would argue that it absolutely does. What do you think? Whoever you are. Let's see who's we've got a stocked chat as always. Nice to see you all. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Oh, good morning. I know there's a lot of people there who are watching over breakfast. Hello, folks. Hello, Derek. Hope everyone is doing great, says Lord Thoth. Hello, Lord Thoth. And I'm going to remind you before he does. No, he already has, yes. But like the gentleman says, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been forward into the future already. This is a good one. I promise you can like it in advance and subscribe for more Type 40 and Type 40 Live. Hello, fellow Whovians, says Christian from the travelling TARDIS there. Hello all. Charlotte Shields. Hello. Oh, Jonathan Cox. Afternoon temporal travellers. Just about get my lips around that. Temporal travellers. Talk about travellers. Somebody's been travelling all around Weston-super-Mare. I don't know if anybody's seen this news story, but it's delighted me. We love eccentrics, don't we, in Great Britain? I think that the entire world loves Great British eccentrics, come to think of it. And this guy, I think he really fits the bill. Check this out. This is in Weston-super-Mare. And this is from ITV News. And meet the man who patrols his street as a 6-foot Dalek. It's not every day you see a Dalek rolling around the street, but one man has taken to carrying out his daily walks dressed as the infamous Doctor Who monster. Doctor Who fan Ian McTeague, hi Ian out there if you're watching, from Weston-super-Mare. He's a train driver, and as if he doesn't get enough of driving trains all day, at the weekends he climbs into a full-size Dalek and rides along the paths near his home. So there's a whole... he's 55 years young, he says, and people would say I'm growing old disgracefully. So the idea of building Doctor Who's most fearsome weapon, for me, is the ultimate big boy's toy. I think we've all known the wonder of that, haven't we? Oh, that sounded wrong. I keep doing this, don't I? I keep putting my foot in it like that. But yeah, his wife Tracy says that she can take or leave Doctor Who, but has helped her husband with online performances in his Dalek contraption and at sci-fi conventions. And she encouraged Ian to turn out in support of the NHS. So they did the old clap for carers thing. So I don't know how he clapped with a plunger, but I admire the spirit of that. very much. So we've got some more Dalek Tales to talk about this time on the show, and a special guest lined up. He'll be in a moment, but first of all, let's bring in my brother from another regeneration cycle. It can only be Simon Horton. Hello, Simon. You okay?
Brothers, yeah. I think we probably are brothers in some parallel dimensions somewhere, Dan. I think we were probably separated at birth, weren't we?
I think we're all brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. That's a seriously impressive Dalek, isn't it? I mean, I've always... Doesn't everybody love a black Dalek? That's just particularly magnificent. I'm not sure is it 6 foot tall. When they say it's 6 foot, I mean... Well, oh, look at that. I mean, that's magnificent. The way the light glints off vertical slats. Doesn't that set that art alight when light just glints off some vertical slats like that? And some balls,
Yes, I'll say no more. Well, it could pass for some sort of arts installation, couldn't it? If they could have one of those on every street corner, I think I'd be quite happy. Would you be happy with that, Barnaby Jager? What would your neighbours think about that?
Oh, I would be everyone would be so jealous of it. It's just so fantastic. I love it. It's got that sort of Darth Vader sheen as well. That kind of.
It's literally glinting, isn't it? It's glinting.
Polished to a fine thing. Wonderful.
Well, I wonder whether it's a self-build. I wonder whether he built it himself, or if not, I want to know where he got it from. You can't get those from Asda, I'm sure.
apparently he did. But yeah, all the things that are supposed to be matte are matte, and all the bits that are supposed to be glossy are glossy, aren't they? And
it's just magnificent. And look at that gun stick. The gun. That's a seriously impressive gun stick. You can tell a Dalek by the measure of its gun stick, really. And sometimes you get floppy gun sticks, don't you? And there's nothing floppy about that.
you can't.
Also, broken gun sticks on some of the classic ones. Broken gun
absolutely.
Sticks.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than a floppy gun stick, is there, JT?
I wouldn't know.
They wouldn't dare, would they? They wouldn't dare.
No. Hello, Facebookers. How are you doing?
Hello, mate.
Hey, everybody.
Keeping out of trouble?
Oh, yes, definitely. But yes, there we are, the first Dalek on the streets, and the way we're going, not the first.
Wouldn't it be interesting? I think it'd be really interesting to do a survey across the world and actually find out how many people recognise a Dalek on site and know what it is. I bet it'd be quite a high proportion, even non-Doctor Who fans.
Really?
Doesn't everybody know a Dalek? All across the world, maybe not in North Korea. I don't know. Doctor Who
the Russians have elected them in before, haven't they? Really, they've gone, let's have them. So yeah, of course, everybody knows what a Dalek is.
I think so.
They would now. I remember back. They would now. I remember back when I was at school when no one had heard of a Dalek, and this was back in the 90s when no one had any idea what it was, and I was the only one in the playground who knew what the hell a Dalek was.
Yeah, and there was that. But then they came back with a massive force, didn't they, in 2005, and said, that's what it is.
But don't you get annoyed by it? Isn't it frustrating, Barnaby, when you're ahead of the game and you know this stuff, and then everybody else catches up, and you're like, I knew what a Dalek was years before you'd even heard of them. It's frustrating.
I had a mate back at school who was the only guy. We were really good friends because we both loved Doctor Who. And then when it came back in 2005, we just went, "This was our thing, This was our thing. Now it's just mainstream, and everyone knows about it. It's like, oh, everyone knows who the Doctor is. I was there first. Thank you.
Welcome to our generation."
Yes, the Daleks, the Doctor Who, and the Daleks in particular, they definitely stormed playgrounds all over again, and they stormed popular culture. They stormed YouTube, and they ignited, didn't they, creativity, and they brought back, and they sort of restored some latent fandoms, I think, and also vindicated some of us who'd been sort of clinging on to it in between, didn't they? But talking about creativity, that brings me to our guest for this show. Yeah, he's somewhat of a creative powerhouse, a one-man production team, I think, as a sound designer and as an artist, as a CGI artist and animator. And you've almost certainly seen his work over the last 9 or 10 years, because he's going to tell us exactly how long some of his projects take to come to fruition. But yeah, he's gone from working on YouTube and putting out his various efforts for us to see, to now working firmly in the bosom of Big Finish Productions too. So we're going to bring him in now. This is Lee Adams, everybody. He's the man. He's the mouse behind Dalek Tales.
Hello.
Hi, Lee.
Hello.
Welcome to Type 40 Live. Yeah, people love you. People love your work, don't they, Lee?
Yeah, I get good enough comments from it, I think. And the bad.
Yeah. Well, Where did it start for you? Let's talk about Dalek Tales for a start. So this is, I think, when most of people, even if they don't know your name, they will have been to your channel and seen your work. So when did Dalek Tales debut, and how long did it take you, and why?
I think it was about 10 years ago, or more now, maybe 12 years ago when I first started working on it. The reason why I came up with it was I saw a load of comments about Victory of the Daleks. Victory of the Daleks. And people were quite confused by the paradigm. And I was like, how could I write a story that would get people interested and explain their creation? Why? Where the hell did they come from? Yeah. So
I see.
So I went about doing that. I had a potato for a computer to render anything on. I could animate on there, but couldn't really render much. But it took a good year to do with the rendering. So,
can I ask you, Lee, about the story? Because when I'm going to be honest, when I watched Victory of the Daleks originally, that was 2010, wasn't it? I wasn't that impressed. And I've only watched it once since, when the original Blu-ray came out, in the series, whatever one it was, volume 2 or whatever. But when I saw your series, I had to go back and watch it again because your series was superb. How did you start with the script for that? How did you start to actually put the story together?
Being a nerd, I think. It was that question: where did the paradigm come about? Where was that all this time throughout the whole series? We have Daleks constantly going off about their purity and going off about they're the last of their kind, and where did this idea suddenly come from? So I had to try and interweave something, and then we had obviously Dalek Khan as well. What happened in the in-between? How could I intersplice those two together? So that's how that story.
Because it is the secret origin, really, of Dalek Khan, isn't it? This particular story that we're talking about, Dalek Tales, as you originally brought it out in 2011, wasn't it? Around that time.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love the idea. You see, because I know a couple of people out there who write fan fiction. When things niggle at them, they know certain elements of Doctor Who continuity apparently don't make sense. So these people who've got sort of literate minds, so people go and they write fan fiction or whatever, and I've known people who have illustrated comic strips as well to sort of fill those gaps. But this is going considerably further, isn't it? So I gather you could animate before attempting this.
Oh yes, yeah. I've been wanting to be an animator since I was 10. It was the one thing I was going to do. I went to college to do film studies and understand film, then went on to university to do animation as the thing, and then left university and took that up as a main career. So this was just a side project for me, obviously with the love of Doctor Who and seeing people's reactions to that episode spurred me on to create something. So
it inspired you. That's great to hear.
So you put it out in 4 parts over a period of time, didn't you?
It was basically as soon as it finished rendering, it went out, and I got it edited and got the voices done and all that. And then straight on to the next episode and the next episode. It wasn't the most easiest way of doing it, but like I said, the computer I had wasn't the best for performance-wise, to do what I wanted to do. The animation in there is so stale. I really want to go back and redo it if I could, because it's not animated properly. The first scene when we see the paradigm and the camera's panning across, I actually animated that. And then I was like rendering it, and I was like, this is taking 2 days. What do I do? So I can't spend the time animating and rendering. I need to cheat. So the rest of it, most of the Dalek animation, there's not much to it. It's mainly just staying still. And that's one of the regrets with it. But the story, and people seem to enjoy it for what it was. So,
well, because it explained several episodes of Doctor Who in 4 episodes. That's why it was brilliant.
It's as if you've got a checklist. We'll sort that out.
Yeah, it was basically that, right? I need to include that. as I was writing it.
Doctor Who fans are like, all Doctor Who fans want those gaps filling in, these little continuities. They really bug us. We're not just the kind of people that can just sit and let it wash over us and think, no. It's really going to bug us. It's going to keep us awake at night. So we need somebody to.
You need something. Yeah, I think personally that happened to me as well. I needed to know, so that was my need to know by creating it. But,
fabulous.
And people seem to have.
It slots in beautifully, Lee. And when I heard that we'd got you for the show today, I went back and watched it over the last 2 or 3 days. I've been watching everything off your YouTube channel again. And yes, if you haven't seen Lee's output, wait until the show's over. But there are links in the description to this video, and you'll find a link to Lee's channel and lots of other things that he's done for Big Finish, lots of trailers and things. We're going to show you some of those later on. But I went back and watched it. And considering that you said, I'm a creative myself, in fact, numerous of us are here. So I know that feeling of you think, it's not, I know I could do that better now. But it does stand up really, really well. Trust my word for what it is. I think it still looks really crisp and elegant and really evocative too. It really makes you feel like you're there. And the way you give individual characters to all the Daleks and show the descent of Dalek Khan into insanity. I think it's a delight. I really do. So what was the reception like then, and what did that feed back into your professional life when people saw it?
People seem to engage really well with it. I didn't think it would have done great because my YouTube channel was just for me to get work out there, show reels for companies. It was never meant for a Doctor Who thing. Yeah. And I think after creating the first Dalek Tales, that's all I kept having was, when are you going to do another one? When are you going to do another one? Are you going to do another one? And it was a case of I'm busy working because I was working professionally. I was in the game studio working as a games animator, so I couldn't just go home, and I had kids, so I couldn't go home and go, right, I'm going to go to the computer to make another animation. It wasn't fair. So, but over the time, things have settled. I work freelance now, so it's not an issue if I needed to create a project for myself, if I've got the time, which is never the case at the moment. But yeah.
This is a story we hear versions of a lot, isn't it, Barnaby? Like people who are creative, who love Doctor Who and love science fiction, and it stimulates their creative gene. They create something; it feeds back into it.
Oh, totally, all the time. I mean, for me, Doctor Who was the reason I actually went into acting, because just some of the actors who've been on there just over the years have just utterly inspired me. So, and I think, and it's so great that kind of show can do things for creatives and inspire animator, not only actors but also animators and music designers, and just that's the word for it, music designer, isn't it? Yeah,
sound designer, music designer.
Thank you. Yes, sound designer, music composer. Yeah. So it's just fantastic that this little show can just inspire us to just follow our dreams. So yeah.
And people in the chat have clearly been watching your content. There's lots and lots of people saying, I love Dalek Tales and all this sort of thing. And Digby Strawberry. I didn't know about the Dalek Tales, but this is a fantastic, fun surprise. So yeah, go and watch it all, Digby.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, it's like the show itself. People are discovering your channel and your episodes and the sequel series as well. So it's fantastic. Digby, go and see it after this show.
Vanessa Law in the chat here. Hi, Vanessa. Good to see you. Didn't see you earlier on. I can't wait to watch it. There's somebody else there, and there's people tagging one another. Oh, they're all excited. Jonathan Cox is right. I'm off to watch it now.
Staying.
Watch Type 40 Live. Yes. So, what do you think, Lee, to Dalek builders, to our friend in Western-super-Mare in the video we saw there in the news?
It's really good. I built an NSD with my father. He still has it, I think. I haven't spoken to him for a while. I think I haven't spoken to him for a while.
What colour was it, Lee? What colour did you go for?
Bronze in the end.
Bronze.
Keep it simple.
What did you build it out of?
It was fiberglass and wood mainly, and lots of different pieces that we got to mold. Dalek bumps were molded, and because I come back.
Idea. Dalek bumps were molded. I mean,
no, there was lots of parts that were molded. So
there's a whole.
I enjoyed it.
Well, I was going to say, how long would it take? How long did it take you to build your NSD? I'm getting all the jargon of the Dalek Build Society. Yeah.
He was working on it when I wasn't working on it, so I'd only help a little bit at a time. So I don't know, because I was too busy working.
So your dad's taking the full credit for it, really.
It's his. I'm leaving it to him. So there we go.
Do you think there's something to be said for doing something like that with a physical sort of prop or an object and getting all the measurements correct and being able to walk around it? How does that translate into when you wish to bring something, just manifest it completely in pixel form? Did it change the way you look at the Dalek? Either side to it, either the CGI aspect or building one?
Well, I built CG ones before even building the first one. One of the things that I'm a stickler for is detail. And people seem to forget when they take photos for references and measurements and stuff that cameras have a parallax effect. So where things tend to warp slightly. Okay. So when they create their models or do their measurements, nothing is ever perfect. And it tends to not be the same as the thing you'd see in real life. One of the advantages of doing CG thing is you can create the camera effect when you're building models, so it does incorporate that, and eventually you get perfect measurements. So that was kind of useful for making a full size real one. So
we've got on screen now. This is your Emperor of the Daleks, isn't it? From the Evil of the Daleks, and in this movie.
It's a little bit of a teaser for something I want to do. It's I've started rendering it, but then I have to stop rendering it for other things. So it's kind of on and off. But
I'm on board. I'm on board already.
We all are. Really good. Whatever it is, we want it.
Yeah, there we go.
It is. We drool over this stuff. You know, when we see what people can do with Daleks in I think we all love a Dalek. It is a design classic, and for although it's supposed to strike fear into the hearts of all human beings, there is something kind of cute about it too. I've just recently seen this is Anthony Lamb, who's another CG artist. You probably know Anthony.
I know him.
And this is something he's been working on. This is a 3D printed Dalek that he's got here. Now, I've never seen a 3D printed Dalek before, and I think this is sort of influenced by lots of different things. I think it could be his own design, actually. It seems to me there's a bit of the TV21 Dalek in there and some of the Paradigm Dalek. You can probably spot all the bits and bobs.
Do you know, it reminds me of the Palatoy Dalek. Can you see that one? I've got a sunny day here in Scotland, everybody, so I hope you can see it. Look at that. Look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Does he still talk?
No.
I
love that 3D, crikey.
Yeah, 3D printing is something that sort of blows my mind, really.
It's something I do as well. It's something I do.
Okay.
I started building little statues of doctors. She's kind of broken at the moment, but I can show you one I've been.
Oh wow.
Of Jodie Whittaker, if it comes in.
Oh wow,
that's nice.
Her leg's fallen off, but
legless already. Yeah. So when you think about the prospects with 3D printing, how that could cross over into Dalek building too, and the bigger that 3D printers get, we could eventually see armies of 3D printed Daleks, just like in that New Year special that we got. Whenever it was, a couple of months ago, but actually, that fans could potentially sort of send it to convention halls, and relatively cheap. I have no idea what the cost of 3D printing is. It's probably quite a lot at the moment, isn't it, Simon? Technological advances do tend to be.
The whole 3D printing thing still just mystifies me, because I see so much stuff and I remember actually making a video on 3D printing quite a number of years ago now, probably about 10 or more years ago now, when it was really in its infancy and nobody had heard about it. And I remember thinking at the time, what do you mean 3D printing? What do you actually mean? You mean 3D printing? And of course, here we are now on everything can be 3D printed. It's incredible.
Do you know what gets me about it as well is that the young ones seem to understand all about it, and tap, 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 and then there's a Dalek. I mean, how clever are they? And it's just so exciting because they're going to be the people that are hopefully producing good content television in the future and industry and things for hearts and kidneys. And oh man, they're just they're so lucky.
Makes you sick, doesn't it? Yes. Duncan Shaw in the chat says, "How about a light green Dalek for St. Patrick's Day?" I'm surprised nobody's done one. Nobody hasn't done one yet.
Lee, you've got a green Dalek, have you not?
Yeah, there's a green Dalek in Dalek Tales. Yeah, so there you go.
And he's gorgeous. He looks like a great big sprout.
That came off the back of Mark Gatiss's idea because he wanted a green one in his script. So I was like, okay, we'll chuck that one in.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you did.
The one I love as well. It was the only place I've seen it was at the. I think was it at the Doctor Who experience back in. Was that the thing in for the 50th anniversary down at Excel in London? Was it called the Doctor Who experience? I think it was, wasn't it? The big event anyway.
It was the first one,
yeah. And if anybody, you must have seen it, the one that's painted with a Union flag. And
it's
and I've never seen it since. I don't know what's happened to it, but it was magnificent, just beautiful. It was like a Mini Cooper of Daleks. It's fabulous.
That's what they sold it as, wasn't it? The Mini Cooper of Daleks.
Probably.
Yeah.
Everyone loves the Dalek, and everybody loves K9.
Woo!
It's March the 16th, of course it is. And while we're hoping that things are going to change, things are going to continue to get better, as you've just rightly noted there, JT, it's also a birthday in the Doctor Who universe. So we want to stop to wish a very happy birthday to Mr. John Leeson.
Hey, happy birthday, John.
We know that John watches the show, or has in the past. And usually I wouldn't be so vain as to think he'd be sat here watching us on a Tuesday afternoon on his birthday. But John, if you are still locked down, things could be worse. You could be on the show. Things could be worse. And a big happy birthday. Big happy birthday to John Leeson. Doctor Who legend, Doctor Who universe legend, K9 legend, Disney Simon, and much do we love John.
John is a true gent, and I'm delighted to say John many moons ago came to our Whonatics meeting here in the Midlands. Would have been around about 1988, 89. He came all the way from, I think he was living in Norfolk at the time. Maybe he came miles to us, and he was an absolute gent. And we did. He commentated. We did K9 races. We all had those little Dapol K9s, the green ones. Anybody remembers the famous Dapol green K9s? And we did these Dapol K9 races, and he was commentating on it. Absolutely, he's a magnificent fellow. We salute you, John. Come and do the show with us.
He was great on camera as well, not only as the voice of K9, but he turned up in one of the Key to Time episodes, didn't he?
I
think it's one of the reasons K9 didn't have much to do in that episode, not only because it was mostly marshland, and K9 would probably have sunk into anything there. They couldn't get the boards down to lay it out. But he was actually a really good, really great actor on screen as well.
I think, as I recall, they used him simply because they contracted him. They got him under contract for K9. They couldn't use K9, so they gave him a part.
So they had to use him.
But we're the winners because we get to see him on screen for the first time.
That's showbiz.
Everybody wins. Everybody wins, John, don't they? Oh yeah, lots and lots of love for K9 and John Leeson in the chat every time that we mention him. We get a lot of this. I love K9, says
we
Duncan
all
Shaw.
Love K9.
Happy birthday, John, says Crimpline Dublon. Thanks for that name, Crimpline. God, I do have to pronounce these, you know. Vanessa says, I was just listening to an interview with John Leeson. Wonderful. He seems a very modest man. I've seen plenty of interviews with him, JT, but I've never met him. I gather you have.
Yes.
You've met everybody.
Nearly. No, he's a lovely guy, John. Lovely guy.
And we have.
He is. He's one of those people that you see an interview on DVDs or whatever it might be, and he genuinely is as lovely
as he is. Yeah.
As he is an absolute gent. He's a lovely, lovely man.
That's so good to know. Yeah.
I saw a video with him surprising Peter Capaldi, Lee, at a Doctor Who event where he crept up behind him, did the "Hello, Master," did that, did it over his shoulder like that. Whatever that is, that's the best K9 I can do. So he did that. He did that absolutely perfectly. Obviously, not my ham-fisted version. And the look on Peter Capaldi's face was just,
jaw-dropping a bit.
Could it possibly be? And then that sort of the flash of recognition across his face was just a delight.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what I love about the Doctor Who community. Hail to the legend, John Leeson.
Hi, Daniel.
We love you. Happy birthday. Hail K9. Hail to you, Daniel. Good to see you there. Kelly in the chat says, I just watched K9 and Company the other night. It was the first time I'd seen it. Not a great episode. Kelly.
A dog belching fire. I saw him. He got Peter. He got my son.
But it kept me entertained, almost as entertaining as Barnaby doing it.
I love K9 and Company.
We all love K9 and Company.
Oh God! Yes, I know it was. I know.
It wasn't awful.
It wasn't that.
We love K9 very much. Disaster Area. Did you grow up with K9, Lee?
Yes, I have, and I got to work with the K9 team as well. So I've been quite privileged.
So remind us what you did with K9, because back when was it? We had a whole event where we had Bob Baker and Paul Tams in from K9 Official, and we sort of picked our way through the history of K9 right up to date. And they were kind enough to premiere, weren't they, the trailer for the launch of the new K9 book, Megabyte. So that's this. Yep. But you were involved in that project too. So tell us what you did on that. Let's remind people there. This is what we had on back in, I think it was November time, wasn't it? So where did you come in with this?
Well, if we go back to Dalek Tales, I had a random message on my YouTube channel, which was from Paul Tams, saying, would I like to be involved in redesigning the K9 that they worked on for the Disney version. And so both me and Paul worked together to enhance him, basically. So I created the CG version, as you see on the cover there for the book. He's been iterated over time, but I've helped work with for the graphics for both, two books, which is the Megabytes and the Essential Book of K9 as well.
So you were tasked with taking the design that was seen in that show that we saw over here on, I think it was on Jetix or something like that, and you were bringing that one up to date. So you're responsible for these latest tweaks that we see on screen.
Yes.
I think it's all beautiful job.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's a good middle ground because the previous version, the ears were quite floppy, weren't they? There was lots of little things that have been sort of
that was one of the things that me and Paul said we need to change, and I agreed with him that it needed to be more expressive. So I put them on ball joints, and they can, be very expressive, which has been good. I think he's turned out really well. I also I changed his shape as well, compared to the first version they did. Yeah. He was his legs were quite sticking out. I've tried to keep this more box shape to the original K9, so it's more in line with his shape.
I think that when you look at the side view there, I think you can see how you you've retained that original. What's the name of the original designer, Simon? I can never remember the guy's name.
Tony Harding.
I'd say Tony Harding. That's it. So it is a shift more back, sort of realigning with Tony Harding's original.
And also, it's all in the eyes, isn't it? Let's be honest. If you were to change that red eye panel, it would no longer be K9. Yeah. Those red eyes, that is K9 as far as I'm concerned. Once you've got that red eye panel in there, and you've got the little snout and the little gun blaster hole for
the tartan collar as well. You've got to have
the little
collar.
You're right, Barnaby. It's the tartan collar, isn't it? It's the little panel on the back. So I think it's a case of keeping those key elements that still retain it as K9. We can still believe that it's a development of K9. You've kept those. The tail. It's all there. The little dog tag. So sufficient is there that we know it's the K9 we all know and love.
Yeah, I think the way that the tail just sort of sits there in its sort of little enclave. So how long did this take? How much ever to and fro between yourself and Paul was there?
Well, I think it must have been about 2 weeks of building it, initial build, and then we both discussed back and forth. What could we change? Where can we fix it? It's not quite looking right. What would we do? But he gave me quite a lot of free rein to play with it and try to get it to where it's at now. So he's good like that, which is nice.
Was this a bit of a dream come true for you then to work on something like that?
Well, I didn't expect it. I thought it was a fake message because I
do get them. I get them on here.
I tend to get them a lot on the YouTube channel. I'm so and so, and it's like, oh, whatever. But it was Paul, and we had a good long Skype chat, and yeah, it's been interesting, and obviously I'm still helping them whenever they need it. Yeah.
To develop the entire sort of the environment, the visual look of K9's new world, as we're seeing it in the new sort of projects that are going forward with K9 Official. You mean you're the go-to guy? Well,
Paul comes to me if he ever needs anything to do CG wise. Oh, could we get a graphic of him flying or some sort of something for a video or something? So it's usually that. So which is all good. I'm happy enough. I'm proud of how he turned out. You know, he's retained some of the classics and the future of him as well. I know that people haven't been too pleased with how he's changed, but you have to move on. Things have to change and move forward. Really.
Well, the truth is, there's also. The current model is huge with the kids, with the younger. I mean, he's being introduced to a brand new generation, and they love that design, don't they? It's a great looking thing. You and Paul have done, Lee.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. But presumably, you've got to. I don't know, but I'm guessing you have to sort of move away to an extent from the original Tony Harding design anyway. You know, so it is your own. It's your own creation. I guess you're required to do that. So
that was the brief, wasn't it, Lee?
Yeah. Well, that was the main brief. We can't have it as the BBC's version, so it's turned out well.
It's a happy middle ground, I would say.
It is a happy.
Pretty good.
I think it's just like the Dalek Barnaby. As long as you sort of keep him recognisable and keep the character there, people still they transfer that fiction.
Well, that's one of the great things that happened with the Bronze Daleks, and I was so happy because there was all these rumours that I heard that they were going to really radically redesign him, but thank God they didn't. And it's interesting as well because I was going to say the design of the Dalek. It's 60s, but it's timeless as well. It's just there's just something about it. And it's just it was a brilliant design, and I'm so glad they retained that later on. But I'm actually one of the weird people who quite like the design of the Paradigm Daleks. Even though they did look like squidgy toys, I did quite like the design.
I think there was nothing wrong with the design. It's how they filmed them. You know, if you film Daleks from below looking up, they usually look menacing. When you film them straight on, it's not quite right. Or if you look from above, they look small and inferior, which you can play to in shots. And that was one of the things I did in Dalek Tales, was shoot them from below a lot to make them look bigger and badder than what they were. But people didn't see that in that episode. I think the room didn't help because it's quite a small room and they're quite tall for the room, so there's not much play in what they could have done with it. But that's my approach to that.
I think really. Sorry, go on, JT.
I was going to say you might be onto something there, Lee, because I didn't notice them as much in your episodes as I did when the giant Teletubby colours hit me. And that was the thing that got me back in 2010. It was the colours that got me more than the design, first of all. Complete and utter culture shock for Doctor Who fans of a certain age. But I didn't necessarily notice that as much because you'd got that balance, I think, in your episodes as well. So, I thought... And when the green one turned up, I wasn't phased at all.
Yeah, there they are. See, I always quite liked them. The details. I like the finer details of it, and I love. And you've caught it perfectly here, Lee. That kind of almost pearlized look to the dome and certain surfaces. To me, that represented where the Daleks probably would go. They would look sleek and look more efficient. I think where it fell down for me was in, again, the changing of the shape, the changing of the silhouette, so that when they turned on their side, they looked like they've been.
That was the problem I had with it. It was the profile where they literally did look humpbacked. They did the top section is just way too small for the bottom section. It's the profile. They don't look so bad from the front. It is the profile that for me they fall down on. And the colours, to be fair, those colours are never going to be Dalek colours. But
a lot of people were saying they look like different counties' recycle bins, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Only the green one, yeah.
We've got a couple of messages, more messages up on screen. That's a great K9 design, says Sophia Beckin. The rabbi from another planet. The rabbi from another planet. Yes, he'll be up later on around 6 with a live stream on YouTube. Usually it's very sort of Doctor Who heavy. I don't know what he's got planned later on, but you can go and find out, no doubt. And don't forget Christian Basil on the Legend of the Travelling TARDIS. UK time, heaven knows when, but he'll be up in 5 or 6 hours' time, no doubt, in his TIE fighter there, whispering secrets to the Doctor Who community. That's my plug for the rest of Doctor Who on YouTube coming up later on. Lots and lots of love actually here. I like the Paradigm Daleks, so we're not alone here. We're not alone. There's plenty of. I think maybe absence makes the heart grow a little.
I was just thinking that, because we're so far away from it now. When you look at those Daleks, and they were only seen once after, and not really to the extent, were they? They're sort of blue and red, I think, in Asylum. But it's maybe there's a softer approach now as we look back at them, and I certainly think animations like Lee's has helped to appreciate them a little bit more. So I know I've mellowed in a Tom Baker style towards those Daleks.
Well, the mood there, it's just.
I'm really interested by that comment that was up there. I haven't seen the original concept drawings for the Paradigm Daleks, and I didn't realise that the props company had changed them. I'd be interested if anybody can post it. I'd love to see the original concept drawing for the Paradigms and see how they varied.
I have, but I don't remember them looking that different.
I think they're in DWM, aren't they?
Could be.
Any idea, Lee? Have you seen those?
Is it Peter McKinsky? Is it Peter McKinsky?
Yeah, he was
the one who designed them. He probably designed them. There's bound to be something on his website. He has a
very experienced concept artist, works on movies and all sorts of big miniseries, doesn't he? I think Game of Thrones, he was on that.
I think the other thing for me with the Paradigms, they look very much like they were being designed specifically to be launched as toys. That's the problem for me. It looks like everybody's saying we need a new Dalek toy, and they went out and they designed a Dalek toy, full size. That's what it looks like to me, which is another reason why it just doesn't work. They don't look real. They don't look solid. They don't look real. They don't look menacing. They don't look scary. They just look like big toys.
I think that was one of the.
So you can sell the same one so you can say the same one multiple times.
Yeah.
Eagle-eyed PD Rich here in the chat says the Paradigm were modified a bit in Asylum of the Daleks. The Hunchback was toned down, and they, apart from the Supreme, they got metallic paint jobs.
That's right, they did. They looked a bit like a car.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I thought they did. They look like that sort of metallic. We were talking about minis. That's what they reminded me of.
Bringing us back down to earth is Mega, the extremist. Have you all lost your minds? Those Paradigm Daleks were rubbish. We get a second rubbish, all caps. Sorry, Stephen. Stephen in the Dalek factory there. He's a Dalek builder of another kind. He did all sorts of things with model Daleks. His home must be like a production line. Absolutely incredible stuff that he posts. Simon and Horton, they're all in the Doctor Who vault. That's the big
is that where it was?
hardback book, isn't it? Marcus Hearn's book, JT, is that?
It is
big hardback one. Yeah, I know I've got it. I can't remember who wrote it. Justin.
That one.
That's the fella.
I'll go it upstairs. Thank you for that, PD Rich. I will go and find it and have a little look.
Oh, it turns out they're everywhere. We just haven't noticed. Be grateful they didn't do a Paradigm version of K9. Oh, well, the Paradigm eyepiece looked less vulnerable. That's another thing I liked about it. The gun was more stout, wasn't it? You could sort of grab it and bend it with crowbars or anything like that. Various other things you saw. I have that book. Don't pay attention to these purists, says Vanessa. See, everybody loves different things about Doctor Who. The evolutionary aspect of it. I'm not dead against the Daleks that we saw even in the special just gone. For the. I probably
shut up and move on.
Want to see them over and over and over again. But yeah. But when you look back through the history, of the Daleks. I mean, we've got another piece from you here, Lee. This is a movie Dalek, is it?
Yeah. It was just a random poster. My plan was to do one a month, a render a month, but things keep getting in the way as always with work-wise. So I just haven't been able to keep doing that, unfortunately. But that was one of them.
I love those movie Daleks. It still amazes me that the movie Daleks don't get used. I mean, they've never been used in the new show, have they? Maybe they were in Asylum, the Daleks stuck behind a pillar somewhere. I don't know. But I just amazed. I love, and that to me is how you use colour in a Dalek, because some of the colours on those movie Daleks are fabulous.
I wasn't too sure about the fire extinguishers. Oh, sorry. I wasn't too sure about their fire extinguishers. And
yeah, fair point.
So, as somebody who's got an eye for all these details and can recreate it all, Lee, have you got a list of things, bucket lists of things that you'd like to render over time? Think, I'm going to do one a month. Is it partly for yourself, partly for the fandom, partly to just see if you can?
It's partly for myself, yeah.
Right too.
Yeah.
The second Dalek Tales I did was for the fans. Okay. I did do that one for the fans.
Oh, well, thank you.
Why that in particular? Was it the response to the original run?
There was a lot of people asking, when are you going to do more? When are you going to do it? And I think they stayed with my channel for long enough. I felt, you know what, I may as well do something. So I started working on that around the time that Nick Briggs got in touch with me to work for Big Finish. So I was like, oh, now what do I do?
This is Dalek Tales, the experiment, isn't it? It's kind of
fabulous.
Yes. So when did you put this one out? Around 18 months ago?
Yeah, it was over a year ago. It got made quicker, and I was able to do proper animation, because that was one of the comments I kept getting all the time. You can only animate Daleks, you can't animate moving bipedal characters. I was like, okay. So I proved that.
Good for you.
You certainly did. The Cybermen in this are just. I think the Cybermen in this look better than they ever did on screen. These versions that Stephen Moffat brought to the show. Yet again, just like with the Paradigm Daleks, I think you just use them better. You make them look more like Cybermen and less like villains from a Marvel movie. It all looks like it belongs in the Doctor Who universe, and you do a similar. I don't want to give anybody any spoilers, because these, I can't stress enough how you've got to go and see these on Lee's channel. But yet again, you tinker with continuity, don't you? Let's be honest.
A little bit.
Comic strips as well.
Yes. Well, Absalom Dark, if I wanted to give away anything.
How could you do that to him? Shocking.
He wasn't. The plan was, I had it written that at the end of the very last episode, we'd get a cut with him, not dead, if I can give it away to everybody, that he would be chained up, and you'd have the Seventh Doctor come in.
Ah, right. Yes. That ties in nice.
Into Nemesis of the Daleks, wasn't it?
The
comic strips here. Love Absalom Dark. I'd love an Absalom Dark animated show if you're taking requests.
That's what I was going to do. It was going to be a mini thing based around that, because I noticed there's a lot of love for that character. So I was like, why not try to move away from the Dalek side of things and actually have some humanity into it. So I spent a while making those two characters, because that was my plan, but I ran out of time.
My jaw hit the floor when I saw how you'd done a human being there, because I think we've all seen it done. But I can say this. You can't. We've all seen it done badly. It's that simple. And the way that you rendered our friend here as well.
Gorgeous.
That in particular was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, gorgeous, as JT says.
Yeah.
It was a struggle trying to get an iridescent paint, because that's what the new Ice Warriors have. They have like an iridescent green. So trying to incorporate that onto the textures was a pain, but I managed to get it to work.
You give him real character, and you get a sense as well of him wearing armor, Simon, which I don't know. You love the Ice Warriors too, don't you, Simon? When these versions appeared in Mark Gatiss' story.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Ice Warriors, and I think the Ice Warriors, it came back in the Mark. Was it Mark Gatiss that did? What was it called? I can't remember what it was called. Cold War. Yeah.
That's it.
It was great. I love that Ice Warrior in there, and the fact that they finally made clear that it is armor they're in. I appreciate, because that's the whole point. It's not made clear in the original run of the show, and it somehow legitimizes the Ice Warriors to know that they are in armor. It makes more sense, and that's just magnificent. The rendering you've done there, Lee, is just it's beautiful. You want to see more of that on screen, don't you? Let's be honest.
That's why I spent a long time working on those two characters, because that was my plan, and then I was going to do the Sylvester McCoy. Sylvester McCoy. Yes.
We've got. Is that where this comes? That's even worse than my K9. Is that where this comes in? We've got this render of yours of Sylvester McCoy you sent along.
Love that.
That's really cool.
It was going to be a little animated thing where he was getting interviewed on his first day.
That's brilliant.
Being the Doctor. But I'd never finished it, sadly. It's another project that's just got made and then put to the side again.
It's beautifully done. Beautifully done. Let's check in with people in the chat, see what they say. People talking about Daleks, talking about talents of Wayne Chiang here. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I have a couple of the Sevens Daleks kits, and I think I'll be doing a purple and gold or peach and black colour scheme on one of them as a homage. There, so people's imagination's being stimulated here, Lee.
Wow.
What else? I don't know what that is. Bit of advice here from PD Rich, Simon Horton, page 290 of Doctor Who, the Vault, 2nd edition. There you go. People telling you exactly where to find those.
I don't know which edition I've got, but I'll go look on page 290. Yeah. Thank you, PD.
Oh, I'd love to write a dissertation on Doctor Who. That'd be awesome.
I'm stunned that, I'm stunned that PD Rich actually allowed something out of his collection. Never, ever let somebody borrow anything. No, it's not right.
No. Talking about renderings. Yes, thanks to Java Bean out there. If you're watching Java Bean is behind the intro there that featured Tom Baker at the very top of the show, in case anybody wondered what that was. And talents of Wayne Chiang. Yes, just to clarify, his custom Dalek would be a homage to Prince. Of course it would. Why didn't we realise that at the start? I don't know.
Very good.
And I have the Doctor Who Vault too, says Duncan Shaw. Yeah,
I haven't read it. I must be honest. I've had it for years and never even read it.
Talking about redesigns. So yeah, I mean, looking at the work that you've done there on the Ice Warrior and your work with the Paradigm Dalek, they're all about. How can I put this politely? They're all about making the best of designs which may not have looked their best on screen originally, but to go right to the core of what a Dalek is and attempting your own custom take on that original Ray Cusick design. That's something else you've done, isn't it? You sent this picture along too. Let's get this. So this is completely your own design, isn't it?
Yeah, it is my own design, and it's to go along with that Emperor scene that you saw. So
could be some story behind that somewhere.
At some point.
Great, it's like a Sith Dalek. I love it.
It's fabulous.
I tried to make something very menacing looking. That's what I was trying to do.
I love the red accents on it. I mean, that's something that we've never seen before, and that's why I think you're right, Barnaby. It's very Sith looking because of those little red
lights behind it.
On there.
Put on Lead-Hack gaming computer. Love it.
Yes.
You would just get a feeling of a massive energy source, not just inside, but sort of burning and working inside and powering this thing, and that the casing is just sort of barely containing it, I suppose. That it's as much to keep him, the Dalek itself, sort of safe as anything else. I just love all the little details. The fact that you've still kept the gun and the sucker arm almost exactly the same, but the lines, how you've chosen what to accentuate, what to bring back, what to get rid of entirely. You've gone back to the nearly flat lights on the dome, I noticed, for example, rather than the more nipply ones that we see. Yeah. So how long did you work on this for? Was this an entire process too?
It was just, I went with the flow. That's basically how I was going with it. So I started with the basic Dalek shape. And I was like, right, I love the bands on the original Cusick designs. No slack.
Middle.
Yeah. And I was like, how can we make them look chunky and make it look a part of it? And that was the first thing I went for. And then I wanted to do the bumps indented inside the casing rather than sticking out. Which then have lights around it. Like you said, energy. built within,
slightly recessed there. Is it also a case of elements of the design are in line with the particular story that you want to tell it in whatever project you end up using it in? Is that also in this?
Basically.
Yeah. No, don't ask him too much, everybody. Don't ask him too much. No, I love that too. In fact, I'd seen that a while ago. I was really, really struck by that. And I've seen. Where's the other one that I've got? Yeah, yes, this scene here too.
Oh yeah, we love that one.
It does look like you could reach out and touch it, Lee.
That's good then. I'm doing something right then. I'm trying out something new in terms of rendering. So ray trace rendering is something I've never done before. There's different types of rendering. So the original Dalek stuff I did was with just basic lights and faking realism with reflections. But this is using ray tracing, which uses lights and acts and bounces off every reflection to make it look as real as possible. So it's the same way as Anthony Lamb renders his stuff, but I've never had a good enough computer to do that until recently. So that's so I've been I got to do something.
Well, I'd noticed in watching Dalek Tales and Dalek Tales: The Experiment back to back, I'd noticed advances in your technique. You could tell it was still you. It still had the same flow. It was still telling a similar kind of story. It still had that quirkiness and sense of bringing character to the Daleks. But in the rendering, it felt like a subtle extension rather than anything revolutionary. Was it basically the same process that you used on both Dalek Tales projects, and this is something different?
This is something different in terms of the rendering side of things. The other Dalek stories are done exactly the same way, apart from I spent more time animating the more recent one. So there was a lot more of me doing some performances in front of the camera for the Cybermen and stuff, and animating to that, which is what animators do. They're shy actors. That's basically what we are. So I basically recorded myself for most of those.
Wow!
I noticed that you got Terry Cooper playing Davros too.
Yes, he was in my university. He's a good friend of mine.
Oh, really?
He studied.
He's been on Type 42.
He studied computer animation when I was studying stop motion animation, because I switched at one point because I didn't want to work in stop motion anymore. I couldn't be. I hated gravity. Gravity wasn't my friend. So, but no, I know Terry Cooper.
Because Terry is more well known now as the voice of the Master.
Yes, he's been doing that now.
The final game, and I think he's got various other things lined up. So so hear him sort of voicing Davros as well as the Master there. It's been a few years since I'd watched Dalek Tales all the way through, and before I knew Terry, we had Terry and Chris from Black Glove Studio, both of them on the show to talk about everything that they're doing there. So to see his that can only be. I know Terry Cooper. It's probably not an uncommon name, but it's got to be the same guy.
I do feel sorry I didn't ask him to do Davros in the second part, because I just literally did everything for the second part. I just didn't want to bother people. I don't like asking people for free work. I don't, if I can't pay them, I don't want to do it. The Davros, the first Davros thing, it was a minute basically, as much as you see of him. So yeah. But for a 25-minute animation, I didn't really want to bring him in to do that. I didn't think it was fair, so because I couldn't pay him.
Sadly, the slats are there for a reason. Those slats that you've got rid of there, according to Peter Rich, they're energy collectors. Yeah, that is true, isn't it? When the Daleks are free of the city, isn't that right, JT?
Yeah,
it is indeed. But the Daleks will adapt as ever, and it doesn't need to say that they have to be there at all. I'm sure their technology will move just as quickly as we want it to do in the script.
Who's to say that these Daleks aren't from this universe? That's the thing.
Oh, can of worms. He has to do this. Lee has to do this. Can of worms. Yeah, they might be from the Jodie Whittaker universe. Who knows?
Okay, Kelly Lynch, got to go. Lunch hour's over. Good. Thanks for joining us, Kelly, on your lunch hour there.
Goodbye, Kelly. Goodbye.
Yeah, I think it's time that we took a quick break. We're going to be back in a couple of minutes to talk some more with Lee about other projects that he's working on, as well as taking some more news. But it is that time of the show. I know everybody loves this. It's time for the ad break, or the T and P break, as we lovingly call it. So we're going to cut to the ads now. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes with Lee and the rest of the panel.
Oh, this sore throat hurts. Oh no, don't swallow. Don't swallow. That hurts. Oh, what's he got now? Oh, Strepsils anaesthetic throat spray. That's new. Oh, anaesthetics penetrating the nerve index. Pain's going. Strepsils quick. Doesn't even hurt to swallow. Think we feel like lunch.
New Strepsils anaesthetic throat spray relieves pain fast.
Beautiful princess, you have freed me from my spell. Now I shall take you as my bride, and we shall live together forever. I also have this fabulous castle set in the...
Well, who did you expect? Snow White?
There's a new year on BBC television. On BBC One, the new Doctor Who emerges, now twice weekly on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Welcome aboard. I'm the Doctor. Or will be, if this regeneration works out.
And in the new edition of Radio Times, actor Peter Davison talks about his new role as the celebrated Doctor. Starting next Friday on BBC One, Fame is the Spur, a dramatic rags-to-riches story with Joanna David and Tim Pigott-Smith.
We could do a lot together, you and I. We believe in the same things, don't we?
Radio Times has a feature article about Howard Spring's bestseller on which the serial is based. Philip Maddox stars in a new drama series on BBC Two, Ennell's Point, the lives and adventures of a fictitious Welsh lifeboat crew. In the new Radio Times, the background to the making of the series with the real Mumbles lifeboat. And Police, a major new documentary series which takes a unique look behind the scenes of the Thames Valley Constabulary. Police, starting next Monday on BBC One, and on the cover of the new edition of Radio Times.
Hello, welcome back, everybody.
Police!
You can't help thinking, why on earth didn't they put Peter Davison on the front cover of that Radio Times? Instead, we get some really dull picture of police. Hello, what were they thinking?
I wonder if there's like a police fan club from back in the day. God, I just loved police.
I think of that lovely photo. Well, there's several from that photo of Davison with his team around him and the TARDIS in the background. You think, whoa, that would have been a cover and a half, and they went with some weird picture of police.
What were they thinking? What were they thinking? Yeah, people in the chat, you can see the recognition here. Dawning on, wow, that is Turlo in the first commercial. It was indeed. It was indeed, Duncan. And Jack Harkness turned into a frog. He did indeed. It's not. Yeah, we've seen a frog in Doctor Who since, of course, sitting on a chair in some load. Load of old nonsense. Chris Purge said, "I never saw the advert with the extremely young John Barrowman." People forget that John Barrowman was a huge presence, wasn't he, on screen in the 90s? He hosted the movie game on children's BBC.
I just remember him from. Wasn't he Going Live? Didn't he do Going Live?
The first series of Going Live. Yeah.
That was when he started. I think that was his first thing.
Live and Kicking with Andy Peters and Emma Forbes. That was it. Yeah, he was the third. He was the third person, wasn't he? Yeah, very fresh faced John Barrowman there. Yes, seeing a younger Jack being there. Yes, but people are very amused by that. Back in the present, I wanted to have a quick word about this. So, yes, it is March 2021, 2016. March 2021 is the wrap-up month for the main range of audio dramas from Big Finish. The very first proper full-bodied Doctor Who releases that Big Finish started putting out in 1999 with disc 1, release 1, Sirens of Time, that long legacy that's continued all these years through the comeback of the show. yeah, it reaches release 275 this month, The End of the Beginning by Robert Valentine. Again, it's starring Colin Baker, Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul McGann there. But this wraps up that range. End of an era, I think, as they move into almost certainly box set only releases. But yeah, this I haven't bought.
Dan, can I just ask here? What is the end? The end of what? I don't get. What are we wrapping up here?
The monthly range, isn't it?
Yeah, this is
the monthly CDs.
This is that original monthly range that they've had running the entire time since 1999. Yeah.
Wow!
So they're stopping monthly releases. Is that what we're saying? Is that because they've just literally run out of?
No, this is just that monthly line where you get the 4-part story across 2 discs, released once per month. Well, I think sometimes they put 2 out in a month, but they've carried on almost uninterrupted from 1999 through to now.
That's really sad. I love the monthly releases, and
so
really
I don't understand what they're doing. So this is the last monthly release. This ended the beginning.
This is the last one. Yeah.
So what happens then?
They'll be going into box sets.
As in, what do you mean? So what? Like a 6 month? Every 6 months you'll get a box set of stories. Or something.
I'm not sure how it's working. So
I suspect,
as I know. So
it'd be like what they did with Dark Eyes with Paul McGann or something like that. That kind of like big.
Like 4 series in one box, 4 stories in one box thing instead of them coming out 4 months.
I think that's what you'll get. Stories. I think now we've got those things. We've got the 6th Doctor and Perry box sets that come out, and obviously the Paul McGann Doctor, he's sort of well in with that. The Sylvester McCoy Doctor also features in a range. I can't remember what they're called. I think he has got a set with Lisa Bowerman's character, Bernice Summerfield, so that they've all got these individual strands. But now I think there's going to be a real effort to there'll be Peter Davison era box sets, McCoy era box sets, and Colin Baker era box sets going forward. But
I think everyone's getting their own box set. Rory's getting his own box set. Lisa Bowerman's getting her own box set. Loads of them.
Yeah. I saw
the Lone.
Yeah, the year before, the Centurion or something.
The Lone Centurion, yeah. But another reason why I wanted to mention this was, Big Finish. They regularly every month. I think it's every week actually. Yes, every week there is something free on the Big Finish website, and yes, to commemorate the closure of the main range, this is what we've got this week. So if you've never heard it. This is where it all started. It's there for free now on the Big Finish website. There you log in to unlock if you've got an account, or I suppose you have to generate an account if you haven't got one. And all 4 episodes of The Sirens of Time there to download completely for free. I love this story. It's a simple tale by modern standards, but I think that's part of the beauty of it. And it really was the start of something special, wasn't it, Barnaby?
Colin just shines in this episode. It's probably one of my favourites that he's been in, that one, and Jubilee, and he just works so well with Peter and Sylvester. It's probably one of my favourite Sirens.
That was a different time though as well, because bearing in mind that was 1999. It was the first trial run really as well, wasn't it, that episode? And they had to have the 3 of them in it to help sell it and promote it. But when you look at that, was before the show came back, and when you look at it as well, there was a buzz around this because it was marketed as brand new Doctor Who, and the original actors were in it, and it was different to where they possibly are now.
Yeah, I suppose business models change, don't they? That which the audience will commit to buying, will get on board with, will subscribe to, that's going to change too, as there's a move away from physical media, sadly, which I'm not too happy about. I prefer physical media myself, but you do understand the portability of it, and maybe that's part of why the box sets, when they describe something as a box set, it's just a cluster of releases, I suppose you could say, that you buy all at once. Some people aren't interested at all in physically owning an item, but to me that's completely alien, Simon. It has to sit on my shelf.
Well, I think we're old school, you and I, Dan. Definitely. I don't want, apart from the reason I really don't want digital media, and I really think people are missing the trick here, is you don't own it and they can take it away from you. You lose it, or you lose access to it. The physical media, that's what we've got to have. We'll rue the day. Mark my words, we'll rue the day.
Get over to the Big Finish website to take advantage of that. I'll put a link in the description afterwards, and keep a watch on the website as well, because there's something for free every week. Sometimes it can be just a half an hour thing. Sometimes it's a full adventure like that. But it's really worth keeping an eye on all of that. Something else has completed this week, hasn't it, JT? The Target range of books has started in 1973, wasn't it? Last week, they actually published that new set, that latest set from BBC Books, but under the Target imprint. I gather, and that's the reason why we see you we see you as you are now from that slightly different angle, because you're basking in the glory, aren't you, of a complete collection?
It has been a long time coming, because as the Space Bookers will know, a certain age of Doctor Who fan has been waiting for ages for the City of Death, which arrived a couple of years ago, but we've been waiting for the Pirate Planet, we've been waiting for Resurrection of the Daleks, and we've been waiting for Revelation of the Daleks. And I have to say, when they arrived last week, there was a certain thrill of slotting them in the correct order of broadcast on my shelves. They are here. And I just feel completed. I have a real sense now that after all this time, they are here, and I can look at them and I can just go, ooh, grommet. You know, it's fabulous. It's really nice to have them. And that is me now with the complete set. I am not fussed about the new stories at all from the modern era. Not purchasing those. I'm not going to invest. I am not going on that bandwagon. I'm certainly not going on that journey of another however many years, if they get to that, because the sales figures are debatable. But, you know, it's a real case of I'm done. And it's taken this long. And here I am now at 51 years old. And it's completed. I'm very happy.
The problems I've got with them, I've only gone for the two Dalek novels, because I've already got City of Death and I've already got Pirate Planet.
Yes.
So I've gone for the two Dalek ones. The problem I've got with them, I still just think they've screwed the entire range up. The reason being, they've tried to copy the Achilleos artwork, as we know, we've spoken about before, and they've done it disastrously. It looks like bad Chris Achilleos. So I think it's actually quite offensive. But on top of that, whilst they've supposedly tried to recreate this Target look, they look nothing like Target books. So if you're going to try and copy Chris Achilleos, and the reason I'm saying this, well, it's not that so much as the covers are matte covers. So they look completely wrong anyway. They haven't got the right logo on.
Do you mean, Simon, that they look more like luxury items?
Well, they look like modern books, Dan. That's what they look. They look like modern books.
Because the beauty, they still do publish, don't they? We can go into, well, usually we can, if there wasn't a lockdown on, we could go into Waterstones or a supermarket, come to think of it, and pick up a cheap and cheerful paperback.
Yeah.
Where the pages, where it's all, there's a certain shine to the cover, but they're basically, a paperback is a paperback, isn't it, largely?
Yeah.
There's little things that they do. Sometimes you see them with bright green pages or whatever, but largely a paperback is still a paperback, whereas these, you can tell they're marketed at adults.
Yes.
Because of that sort of that gold leaf logo and that sort of sheen to the cover. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, it's got kind of a pearlescence.
Yeah.
Matty kind of look to the cover, and it feels and looks all completely wrong because of the fact that they've tried to copy the Chris Achilleos artwork. If, as we've said many times on this podcast, on this live chat, if they'd done completely new artwork in an entirely new style, I would buy it more. But trying to recreate the Target look, but actually making them look nothing like Target books, is completely nonsensical. So they've fudged it to me. They've fudged it. You either had to commit to make them look like Target books or do something entirely new.
Well, just say to Lee, in case he hasn't seen this, what we're talking about there is we've had a couple of discussions over the last few shows about the look of the BBC Books version of Target. And we've all agreed that because there's so much talent like yourself out there, some of the new, some of the fans could have done great aspect of do you know what I mean? Because there is we were talking about, we've actually seen some of the covers for the new releases done by fans that are better than what the BBC have just released.
Retro Vicky says I've
done a much better job.
This is the thing. As far as I'm concerned, you see, I do like them sort of as they are, but I think that to bring something out like that as a kind of luxury item, maybe even in hardback, might have been the way to go. And for the paperbacks, it depends. Is it an exercise in nostalgia, or is it a genuine, deliberate attempt to get children and families reading these things together again and to kick off a line of books? To me, kicking off a line of books, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know if it's an insult to Chris Achilleos or not, but to go back and to try and recapture that might be the wrong thing to do. I'd have probably used. I tire of some of the montage covers that we see on TV titles as well. But Lee, somebody such as yourself, just as JT said, somebody who renders in CGI. Even it doesn't have to be traditional illustration to sort of stamp a new identity on a line of books like that. Are you a reader? Do you see are we just griping, or do you see what we mean?
No. I totally get you. Am I a reader? I used to be, not so much these days. And I did have a box full of Target Doctor Who books that my mother got me for Christmas once when I was younger. That stayed in the box. I never pulled them out. I don't know.
Because we've spent a lot of this discussion talking about design and how times change.
That's the thing. Times change, things change, tastes change, and it's all down to the branding, the people who brand these things, who have an idea of what works and what doesn't anymore. I think it's just us as fans who want to hold on to something. I don't know.
See, I want children reading these books. I want older sisters passing them down to the younger brothers. I want dad sort of taking 10 minutes to maybe take one up to the toilet when he's got and having a flick through. I'd like the idea that these things can be passed around families again. JT reading a book in the toilet is thinking. No collector would do that. That's the thing. So people will live with these again. They'll become fixtures of family, the way the Harry Potter books did, for example.
I don't think they are. I mean, we won't go into it on this particular show, but we know Doctor Who is not as popular as it was, and I don't think they are. I mean, I've started to read very gently. I haven't read them all yet, but I've started to read Resurrection. That's not a kid's book. It's not a children's book, and I don't think it's going to be aimed at $7.99 or whatever price they're at the moment at a children's market necessarily. I think
is that why, JT? Is that why that this product feels different, even though it's carrying the insignia? Why it feels different to the Target?
I only wanted the 4, as I say there, so I'm not too bothered about that because I'm not going to follow it on into Road and Beyond. That's not. I'm not interested at all. But it's a really case of I don't think the market they're looking at there is the general market like a Target book used to be. Because remember, Target wasn't just Doctor Who. They did try Agatha Sacks, and all this sort of stuff. They tried other authors, other ranges. And it was a children's book brand that was known and huge in the 70s and in the early 80s. Whereas now I think what's going on with the BBC, it is a BBC Books brand with Penguin. The Target book, the logo is just there because they've suddenly realized, well, hang on a minute. There's a Doctor Who market there that we should aim these books at, and I think they're aimed purely at the fan base or what's left of it.
I agree. I think JT's right. They're aimed purely at the fan base. I mean, this is it. You probably can't tell, but Dan's right. It's got a lovely gold foil logo, which is magnificent. Yeah, but then the cover is just it's all matte. It looks just completely wrong on the back. I mean, that's not a Target book. That's nothing like a Target book.
No, that's true, yeah.
And we've got this sort of weird combination of a Target logo and a BBC Books logo. They're trying. I honestly don't know what they're trying to do. They're kind of trying to cash in on. They think we're thick enough. Just sticking the Target logo on. It's going to make us all go, "Oh, Target books." I'm sorry, this is not a Target book. It's nothing like a Target book. And I don't have a problem with that. What they should have done was not try to brand it as Target. Just do it new. Do it your style. Just do new books.
But of course, they had the brand already there because the original series, the new series original novels, which started with the Eccleston Doctor, and those beautiful hardback ones, which are behind me here, that was the branding there, wasn't it? They could have done something similar to that. But
I don't know how those died. Because they used to fill every supermarket.
It just needed a new look. I mean, as I say, this is just that's not good artwork. I'm sorry. Who's done it? It does say on the back, I think cover illustration, Anthony Dry. Anthony, I have nothing to say. I'm sorry. I have nothing to say.
Here's the fact, though. Here's an unusual fact for you, which is just throwing this away. Resurrection of the Daleks is the only Peter Davison white spine book.
Don't get this on Radio Free Scaro, do you? Great trivia like this. Lots of affection for the Target books, as always, anytime we talk about them in the chat. Yes, Dan, the Target books helped me to learn and to read. Disaster Area chips in here with, I have started getting the CD versions now.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah,
so have I. And I'll probably get those going forward, get the audio books.
A lot of them are out of print, Dan.
Yeah, apparently so.
You can get them on the download, but as Simon said earlier, why would you bother? You know,
bit of trivia, cool. I have the hardback versions of the Pirate Planet Sharda and both Revelation and Resurrection of the Daleks. I do have the City of Death in paperback, though. There you go. Well, you get what you need to get for the collection that you wish to collect, don't you? That's the thing. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. Now,
was the book of the Pirate Planet written by Douglas Adams
and James Goss?
Well, no, it was written by James Goss from Douglas's script.
From Douglas, I just wondered if he wrote the Target one, because that'd be amazing.
Well, Douglas was Raven Dead, dear.
Douglas was dead
by the when the Target book came out. He was already dead by then.
Douglas Adams left behind a lot of things. I mean, he left behind the script, the movie script to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, didn't he? And various other bits and bobs too. I think stage versions of things like Dirk Gently and all sorts of things. But whether he left behind some sort of rudimentary manuscript for a paperback version of that, I doubt it, because apparently lost interest in it.
Well, I've got it here because I've got the book live. And it says, this Target novelization, Doctor Who and the Pirate Planet, is based on the 1978 TV story. For a version based on Douglas Adams' first draft scripts, check out the BBC books Doctor Who, the Pirate Planet. It's a much longer and very different book. So they're all coming from the original scripts, and they would have looked at the TV show, I'm sure. But there we go.
The new books have missed their target audience. Getting
Brilliant.
One-liners there. That's what we love to see. There are two versions of the novels of one of the novels just out. That must be what you're talking about there, JT.
Well, it's traditional in the industry, the book industry, that you bring out the hardback first, and then usually a year later you would bring out the paperback version. And we know on this panel, we know various people that were involved with getting those books done as Target. So that was nice work for them. Well done to them for actually influencing the BBC studios enough to afford them to look at. But good luck to anyone who's buying the new range.
Yeah, we'll see how that one pans out. Talking about merchandise, back to yourself, Lee, and back to your career. So now in 2021, we mentioned at the top of the show, we've mentioned it a couple of times since, talked about Big Finish, and now you haven't just got the CGI, the rendering, the arty side, that which we see going on. You've concentrated a lot of your production, your creativity on that which we hear, haven't you? So you work on Big Finish's releases, don't you? You tell us what you do on Big Finish, because these are some of the releases you've worked on, aren't they? Hold on a second, let's get them up. Ta-da! Yes, these are some of the releases that you've worked on, I understand.
Oh, what's that? Oh,
yes, that's some of them.
What do you do on the Big Finish lines? What's your role there?
I'm a sound designer, so basically I create the worlds that everybody hears, as well as cleaning up and editing whatever's been recorded from the actors. So
to bring in line with, is that completely independently, or to bring it into the soundscape so that it all sounds organic?
To bring it into the soundscapes, pre-COVID, should I even say that word? Pre-pandemic, everybody was recorded in studio, so everybody was in line with everybody. Recently, it's been home recordings, so it's been a lot of getting people's dialogue from different sources.
Challenges.
It's challenges because everybody's room sounds different, everybody's microphone sounds different, so the challenge is trying to get them all to sound like they're all in the same soundscape. So I've had to learn a lot from other sound designers at Big Finish, because I'm not a sound designer.
You're not. So how did this happen, Lee? How did this happen? How did you find yourself working with Big Finish?
Well, Nick Briggs got in touch with me because he's a big fan of the Dalek stuff I've produced. And
a man of taste, Nick. A man of taste.
Oh yes, he does have good taste. And he asked if I'd like to try out to do some sound designing and videos if I was free, and I was like, yeah, sure. And we had a chat. It took us a while to get together to have a good chat about what I could bring to Big Finish or what I could try out to do. So he listed off, could you do some acting? I was like, I'm not an actor. I could do voices, that's about it, but I don't think I could act in front of other people. Sound designing, obviously I'm a film, I've done film and I've done some sound design, but I wasn't clued up on the ways of doing sound design. So I thought, all right, I'll give it a try. They gave me a test. They gave me a test for videos and I passed both of them. And then I had my hand held all the way through my first one, basically, for Scream of Ghosts, which was directed by Nick as well. So they helped me, both Benji Clifford and Nick Briggs both helped me through how to sound design, and they were happy with it. And after that, I did another one and 2 Torchwoods later, and then it's been ongoing since. I think they're happy with me. I hope they've been happy with me doing what I'm doing. So
obviously, so obviously, when you put together Dalek Tales, you said that you did a lot of the audio work yourself. Obviously, he must have heard something in the soundtracks of those and how you created the environments for Dalek.
Yeah, more than likely. I understood what they were, so my knowledge of Doctor Who is useful. Yeah. Having a good amount of sound library, which I did have, was useful for Dalek Tales. So he must have heard something to ask me. I'm glad he did. So it's been fun doing it.
Lee, when you're creating a sound world for these stories, do you actually go back to the original Doctor Who episodes to get inspiration, or are there times when you have to lift something from the original? Because I know Big Finish is very big on continuity, isn't it? So do you have to occasionally recreate something or move something on from an original series?
I have had to do that. The Scream of Ghosts. I can't talk about anything I'm doing at the moment, but from Scream of Ghosts, that had the Vardens, which was tinfoil. Right. So I had to record tinfoil and try to recreate what they sounded like, as well as lift from the episode as best as I could. It's very difficult because those episodes of the past tend to have a lot of music over the top of sound effects whenever there's action pieces, so that's lost to time in that sense. And I don't think there's a library for these things. I'm not sure, but recreating them has been fun. I've enjoyed doing that. So
because there's a lot of that in Dalek Tales as well, isn't it? You get the sound of the individual Dalek voices too. I noticed that the Remembrance Daleks are very different from the Dead Planet Daleks, for example, and you make them very, very distinct.
Yeah, that's me listening to how they sounded back in the past, and then me using a Mooga Fuga ring modulator to.
Mafuga Fuga? What? A
Mooga Fuga ring modulator. It's the sound you use to get the Dalek voice.
He made that up.
It's used for guitars mainly. It cuts your voice into little segments so that you can sound like a Dalek or whatever. And
wow!
So I've tried to use the same thing as what Nick did for Dalek Tales. So I understood that bit of
the technique.
Yeah, I understood the technique of it. Yeah, and obviously performing it gets.
There's a learning curve to every creative project, isn't there? Particularly when you step into another role like that.
This has been a challenge, and sound designing for Big Finish, because I did get a little bit of at one point imposter syndrome when I was working on one of the Torchwood stories. I was like, should I be doing this? This isn't. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Yeah. And but I persevered, and I think I'm 10 audios in now, with several more to go. So
wow,
so far,
very good, very good.
Yeah. There's lots of head nodding here going on. Barnaby, I think we all get imposter syndrome from time to time, don't we?
Oh yeah, particularly. I think if I was working for Big Finish, I'd be just like, oh, why am I here? What am I doing? I'm not good enough to be here.
Oh, no, have some Weetabix, boy. Come on,
I love
that character.
Weetabix, indeed. We've got Mega the Extremist says Wicked Sisters was great. Nice job.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun one to work on. I enjoyed doing that. Yeah.
Good for you, Lee. All the best going forward, sir, says Richard
Thank
Brooks,
you.
watching
Thank you,
over
Richard.
on YouTube. Yeah, we are streaming live to YouTube. I forgot to mention this at the top of the show. Live to YouTube and live to Facebook, over to the Type 40 Facebook group and over on the Facebook page. If you're watching there, we've got a couple of icons here with thumbs up. So I know people are watching. Yeah, and if you haven't yet, why haven't you liked the video? Subscribe to the channel for more Type 40 Live. You don't want to miss what's coming next, do you? When I look back at this whole line, this audio line, and there's so many of these audio dramas are in production. Do you work on, for your part of it, do you work on them one by one, or have you got 2 or 3 on the go at the same time? And is that quite weird if you have to dip out of one soundscape and into another? Because some of them sound so distinctly different.
That's it. You have to treat each one separate. Each story has its own flavor in a way. You know, I like to read the script before I even make a start on doing anything, so I can get an idea of what's wanted. Yeah, and I have a good visual mind. I could see what worlds I could try to create. But yes, I do have like a few on the go at the same time. Never used to be. When I first started, it was finish one. Would you like another one? Finish one. Yeah. But now I have a little bit of a backlog, and I'm like, right, those are my deadlines I need to reach for that one. This one can wait a little bit longer. That one. So I am darting around. So I do have to go back and listen to what I was doing to get back into the flow of it, which is fine. It's not an issue.
Yeah. Lee, how does it work when it comes to those pesky authors and directors of the episodes or the stories? Do they share with you how they feel the ambience, in a sense, should be?
No, the directors usually give you a sense. I haven't had it myself. They've all gone. Wow. They've all said, great soundscape. That's basically what I tend to get in an email. So I know I'm on the right track. Obviously, they will give me. We do reviews, so they review where you're at, and they go through it and go, okay, could we change that? That doesn't quite sound right, and that's fine. More the merrier. So I know that it sounds great, but yeah, directors are pretty good. Everybody at Big Finish has been pretty decent and nice and welcoming and kind, so surprisingly.
So did this require a major upgrade to the home studio? I notice you're surrounded by wires and various gizmos as we speak to you now, but did you have to get some new toys in?
Software, yes, because I had to learn Pro Tools, something I've never used before, and to be honest, I still only now and again use it for whenever to get the dialogue corrected. Otherwise, I'm using Audition still. I don't know. I can't get to grips with Pro Tools. I'm trying my best, but
I'm struggling with that as well. I've been trying to do my own sort of stuff, and plugins. I've just suddenly learned about plugins. Like, what the hell is that?
What are they talking about? I have no clue what you guys are talking about now. What plugin means? Something with a vape thing that comes out to me. What is this? Tell me more about this.
They're usually enhancements to the software. So if you need something, you'll have to go purchase it. So a particular thing that makes it sound like a reverb, so an echo in a room. If it doesn't have an echo in a room and you try to buy this reverb, you put it in and then you can use that reverb. That's basically it.
Or a Mugafuga ring modulator.
Yeah. See, that terminology, Lee, I understand. That's my era.
So kind of when you do something in Adobe Creative Suite, you can buy sets of brushes and things like that to do artwork.
People tend to create their own. So sound studios tend to create their own plugins. I think you can get one for the Mugafuga itself. So it's something I've been looking into for myself.
I'm getting that t-shirt, I tell you.
Mugafuga.
That's the area here says that fans make the best creators, Lee, as they understand the history. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I agree to that.
Richard Brooks speculates, I wonder if they will ever deep fake some of the Big Finish stories and make them for TV. Nick Briggs will be there. Oh, God, sweat beading off his brow now. That could potentially be amazing.
I've been calling for that for ages. I've always wanted them to make Charms of Midnight to deepfake that. That'd be so cool.
That is a very good story. I remember that because that had India Fisher and she liked me.
Oh, did she? You've never mentioned that before.
No, I must tell you about it sometime. That was a good story, that one. I like that one.
They are no. They are audio stories. So some want to keep them as they are, purely for audio.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because we've got that's actually typical of Doctor Who fans in a way. They're just they are just the books. That's the magazine comic strip. That's the TV show. I actually quite like all that because it's just like, right, where are we? which world are we in? That's interesting though that you said that one though. That's great.
People's imaginations. Fair enough, Mega. You have a valid point there. So yes, people are respectfully agreeing to disagree here. And apart from Lord Thoth, who reminds you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Did we mention that? We don't mention that enough here on the Spacebook, I know, or on Type 40. Yeah, so
smash that like button, bro.
That's it. Just like the guy says, give it a good old smash. We've got lots and lots.
What they say, isn't it?
Aruga Fuga, that's going to catch on. Hashtag Aruga Fuga, everybody. Hashtag Aruga Fuga. So we've got the visual, we've got the audio. What's next for you, Lee? What's your dream project to work on as a creative? What muscles would you like to develop or flex?
I've always and will be an animator, so that as long as I can do something, that'd be great. I just haven't had the time to do anything personal. I want to do more cartoony things, which is more my interest, outside of Daleks and Doctor Who stuff.
Wow.
I'd wondered about this because we've got this picture as well of a couple of pictures here of that's a Sea Devil, isn't it? And a Robo Man.
Yeah.
There's a cartoonish aspect to. Well, we saw you Sylvester earlier on, and this Sea Devil where it's sort of halfway between. And I got that a little bit in Dalek Tales too when it came to you doing the creatures, how expressive you made them. They weren't Disney-fied at all, but they were like Danger Mousey.
You can't make things too realistic when it comes to the animation side of things. Otherwise, it comes across as stale and stiff and boring. You kind of have to give it some toon-ishness to them, over-exaggeration, because they've tried doing films that are too realistic in the past and they never tend to work, like Final Fantasy, one of the
the Spirits Within.
That
didn't
didn't work. No, it just looks dead. Everything looks dead. So you've got to give it a bit of life in that way. And you can now with the deep faking thing use a CG character and deep fake a real person onto a CG character. And
oh my god, it's crazy.
I watched
Uncanny Valley, really.
I watched this week on iPlayer, and it's out there for anybody that wants to go and watch it. It's on for a couple of months, and I urge you to go and watch it for a couple of reasons. And that's a Storyville documentary called Welcome to Chechnya, and it's a truly, truly shocking documentary about how people are being treated, gay people are being treated out in Chechnya. But what is incredible is that they have basically replaced faces to protect identities of these people whose lives are under threat. They've replaced faces with digital faces, and I still don't know how they've done it now. And it is utterly jaw-dropping because they make this announcement at the beginning of the film saying to protect identities, faces have been digitally changed. And halfway through this film, I was thinking, they clearly haven't changed. Am I watching the wrong thing? Because they clearly haven't changed the faces here. And are these people's lives in danger? And I was really actually concerned that the wrong thing had been put out. And then about 3/4 of the way through, they literally morph from the digital face to the real face of one person who does want their identity to be known. And you're like, I cannot believe for an hour and a quarter I've been watching this guy
a digital person
talking. And and it was a digital face.
He doesn't actually exist. God,
you've got just go and watch the Storyville documentary. Welcome to Chechnya. It is literally jaw-dropping. I couldn't believe these.
Which channel is that on again, Simon?
Say again.
Which channel is that on again?
On BBC iPlayer. And the Storyville strand. Go and look for Storyville, and then you'll find Welcome to Chechnya. Your jaw will hit the floor. I was amazed. And so when you see things like that, you really begin to realize how fast technology is moving. And suddenly, doing something deepfake with Billy Hartnell or Patrick Troughton suddenly begins to think, okay, actually, this is the technology is beginning to get out there. It's feasible to do this stuff now. Amazing.
Worrying. I'm a bit
worrying. Worrying on the one hand, worrying. Yeah.
I'll put a search into Google for that later on. To the PD Rich says, pro tip from Pro Editing Company 3: as long as you lay off everything to the right standard, use whatever software you're comfortable with. You've got tech tips here on Type 40 Live. There we go. We've got from the man himself. Puts the thumbs up to that one. Retro Dinky says they could do some of the missing stories all deep fake now. We're probably not that far away from that. Some of the things I see just on Facebook blow my mind, Simon. Like you were just saying, not people who don't exist, but people who used to exist. People we love.
Yeah. It just makes you realise that there is sort of technology out there, and I think it's people like you, Lee, who have done this sort of experimentation and done certain stuff and are pushing boundaries, and that's what we need to constantly be doing.
Creative boundaries.
Push this technology to work for us.
Don't know what this comment means. We've got Olivia says, "Oh, I like him. He looks a bit like an ET dragon." Don't talk about our Barnaby like that.
I think she's talking about the Sea Devil. But there is a resemblance. I agree. Yeah.
Thanks. See you here, Olivia. Sicky, they sure could. The BBC needs to do this for the 60th. People's getting stimulated here by what could be possible for the future. Yeah. Some people see it as heresy, don't they, Simon? Whereas other people see it as just the natural extension of creativity.
You know, I suppose some people do see it as heresy, but I mean, thinking back to the Five Doctors, did we see it as heresy then that they replaced Billy Hartnell with Richard Hurndall? No, he was never going to be as good as Billy Hartnell. But the fact that they did it with their hearts I think that's the key here. Is it done with the right intentions? If your heart is in the right place as to why you're doing it, then surely you cut slack then. It's when it becomes cynical and uncomfortable and commercially, they're just pushing the envelope too much. That's when it begins to get uncomfortable for me.
Talking about Billy Hartnell and talking about more visuals, we like to look at pretty pictures here on Type 40 Live, don't we? And this is the latest thing. This is the latest colorization from Clayton Hickman. Have you seen this one, Simon? A Billy Hartnell picture. Apparently, this has been done for that Doctor Who magazine, Doctor Who Chronicles, that was released last week. Seen this one. Which I still haven't seen anywhere in the wild. Anybody? No supermarkets, news agents.
Go and get it. Seriously, yeah, I did, but I ordered it from Panini. So go and order it from Panini. £10, free postage. Don't stop trying to find it.
The Who shop have it in as well. The Who shop have copies.
We'll put some links in the description. Then I'll go and sort that out. Is it worth the tenner, then, Simon?
Yeah. It's a good publication. To me, it's way better than the magazine is these days because it's actually got stuff that I want to read in it, and it's just got some great photos that I've never seen before. Some interesting articles. Again, the kind of articles that should be appearing in the monthly and don't these days. So it's a good publication. Go and get it. I recommend it. Personally. But look on the Panini website.
Yeah, I'll definitely be on that later on. And this is one of the pictures there. We've got Clayton Hickman's latest of William Hartnell there from the Space Museum. Not sure which episode. It's probably an early one, episode 1 or 2. And so that's the picture that he's gone from. Sorry, and this is what he's done with it. Let's get that up. No. That one. So that's what Clayton Hickman's managed to do. That's how he's managed to colorize that. So we've gone from that to that. Absolutely.
It's not the most challenging colorization, if we're brutally honest, is it?
No, but I think there's a lot of subtlety there. I think
there is on the plastic. Yeah, the glass. Yeah. Obviously, I think either he's added extra marks to that. I'm not sure, but it stands out a lot more than the black and white.
I just think seeing anything with Hartnell with a bit of colour in his cheeks there, the red. I just find images like that absolutely enchanting. And so when I saw that, I saw there was some work from Clayton that's not going to be anywhere else because Clayton Hickman was the editor of that magazine for years, wasn't he? And now
and there's and there are some great Clayton Hickman colorizations in the publication. Some really really nice ones. So I'm being a bit cynical there. There's not a great deal of work. No, but there's some images in that publication that are absolutely cracking. I'm just looking at while we speak. I'm looking on the Panini website. I might be sending you to the wrong place in that it might no longer be available. I have a horrible feeling it might have sold out on Panini.
The Who shop have definitely got it too, haven't they, JT? I've seen that too.
Yeah. You can get to the Who shop, and Alex and the lovely team there, I'm sure, will be able to source you a copy.
Yeah.
I also want to get in a plug as well for our friend Ian Kubiak over at Cygnus Alpha events. Ian was on the show a couple of weeks ago, a couple of Fridays ago. He was chatting with us about his tie-in event, wasn't he, Simon? We talked to him, didn't we, on that day? His tie-in event to Logopolis. It's 40 years, everybody, since Logopolis ended on its original TV transmission, Barnaby. Yeah, 40 years, and they've got a big event coming up. I think it's this Sunday. So yes, this is the trailer for it. And I believe that tickets are still available. So, yeah, head over to Cygnus Alpha.
Peoples of the universe, please attend carefully. The message that follows is vital to the future of you all. It's the end.
Yeah, so there we are. Tom Baker will not be tweeting himself, but he will be taking part in a live Zoom chat with Ian Kubiak and whoever else has got tickets to that event. So you can put your questions to Tom Baker, courtesy of Ian. They're great fun, those events. I've been to some, and yeah, it works. It's like a well-oiled machine, I can absolutely promise you. And I'm sure Tom Baker will be on form. And then there's the big tweet-along event afterwards. #It's the end. Get in touch. I think they've got, the Facebook page. I'll put some more links to that in the description too. 40 years, Simon, and more artwork by our friend Andy Walker. You remember Andy? We've spoken about him and his work on the show before. Andy's been doing this. As the weeks have been counting down, a comic strip version of every episode of Logopolis. Ooh. Episode 1 there. He's done them in black and white and colour, but I thought that people would enjoy the colour a little bit more because it's a colour story, isn't it? So, yeah, beautifully illustrated takes on each episode as it's been going along.
Similar kind of style, isn't it, to the old comics that he's done it in?
Yeah, I think it's sort of up there.
It's a bit John Ridgway-ish in a way, isn't it? It's got that sort of John Ridgway feel of all the detail in it.
It feels more like the annuals to me.
Yeah, actually, you're right, JT. It does feel.
It does feel annually.
Yeah.
But it's cracking up, and I just love Logopolis, and that music in that trailer that you just played, Dan. It still sends shivers down my spine now.
I love that music, Simon. It's just it just works so well for him.
It doesn't it work well? It's cracking. And I know Logopolis sometimes comes in as sort of a bit of stick, as was it really the kind of story to finish Tom Baker with? I think it absolutely was. It's epic. It feels epic. It's got gravitas. It's got weight. And I can still remember sitting there as a 12-year-old watching Logopolis for the first time as that music was playing, and you knew Tom. I'm going to fill up in a minute. You knew Tom was going.
Did you know he was? Did they actually put it out? We
knew it was the time that he was
going.
We absolutely.
Because I had no idea. Because I watched it on UK TV Gold, and I had no idea this was his last one. And but even they have the aura there, so I didn't know they're not going to kill off Tom. I mean, Tom's been with me for ages, and then he's gone. Like, who's this blonde git who suddenly turned up?
The major back then, Barnaby. This was a major. I mean, when Tom when Tom announced he was leaving, it hit the front page of every single newspaper. And it was actually a cultural shift for British television because Tom was the Doctor. We knew there had been 3 previous beforehand, but a whole generation had grown up with Tom. People in Britain knew Tom as the Doctor. That's why the 5 Faces of Doctor Who was born, to remind people there had been 3 previous actors. But it was such a huge thing for Tom leaving, and we all knew it was happening because we'd seen it in the paper, and then Doctor Who Monthly, as it was then, was obviously building up to it and preparing for it, and the production office with JNT was preparing for this, what was an actual culture shock for all of us. I mean, you had to be there as well to understand the importance of it. I mean, I was dreading Logopolis from the Keeper of Charkin onwards because Tom was going, and I just this is and I was only 10 and then 11 years old. And to watch Logopolis live back in '81, there was a real feeling every Saturday when you tuned in of doom, and ending, and it was really there. But then, as we've said before on the show and the podcast of the show, when you get to the end of the year with the Five Faces of Doctor Who in November, K9 and Company in December, there was a feeling of rebirth in January 1982 when Castrovalva started. So it was a real wrench on emotion for a certain age group, our age group, who were there at the time to go. You were really pulled through something. It was a very unique time in Doctor Who history.
That's why I love doing the show and like listening to you guys sort of recount, like, because you were there at the time when it was like on. So, and I only just, I mean, sorry, being the someone.
But we love hearing. That's why it's interesting for us as well, because we get a different perspective. Because you're watching it for the first time without even realizing that it's Tom's last story. I mean, that
just go
get your head around that.
Yeah, because as JT says, that was such a big story. Your experience seems so unique. How about you, Lee? Were you around at the time? You don't have to tell us your exact age. I know. Were you around at the time? When did you first see Logopolis?
It must have been when I was a teenager. Okay. I'm 37 this year, so
show off.
I did like him. I liked him up to then. Sorry.
No, it took. I must have been in my teenage years when I bought a videotape from Forbidden Planet to watch that. My first Doctor Who was when I was 5 on my birthday, 5th of October, 1984, 85.
Gosh,
no, not 85, 89. I mean, sorry,
Sylvester, crikey, get off.
Remembrance to the Daleks.
Oh, good. What a one to start off with. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it was broadcast on my birthday, and boop. Every year I watch it. Boop on my birthday. It's sad, I know.
Really? We've all got rituals like that. We talk about them so much on this show.
Yeah.
But it's so bad because I know the words to it off by heart. It's dreadful.
How many have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, let's start from the opening monologue.
We could do it.
We all can. We all can.
Stranger things have happened. Goosebumps for garbage there. I think it means the Logopolis trailer. Not us, not our specimens of manhood. I think he's talking about Logopo, whatever that is. It's the best regeneration story according to Megan.
Here.
Maybe Androzani.
Yeah,
the thing about the difference is between Logopolis and Androzani, Logopolis is a regeneration story because even the Doctor knows he's about to die. But with Androzani, it's just tagged in at the end as certain things.
And in many ways, I think the whole of season 18, it's a regeneration season. It's got that atmosphere from the very beginning. You know this is not going to turn out well. It just has that feel the entire season.
I'd say certainly from Warrior's Gate, where you actually say goodbye to Romana, you say goodbye to K9. That's the ending. And then the next story with Keeper of Traken, it's him and Adric. And there's a sort of... Because Tom knows he's going at that point as well, doesn't he, in the filming? Yeah. And there is that sort of play where you can actually see Tom relaxing as though he knows that the end has been prepared for.
Yeah.
It is. It's very, very sad. It makes me sad today when I watch it. Says Retro.
Yeah, me too, Retro Dickie.
Look how sad he looks in his picture as well.
That whole theme as well of ending, because like with Nissa and saying I can't see Traken, that kind of thing as well. So that kind of aura. I think now I look back to watching it, that the aura was there. I was kind of thinking something's going to happen here because you had the Watcher, new things going on. So,
but you're right, Barnaby. I think that's what it is about Logopolis. It feels like something is going to happen here again from episode 1. You watch episode 1 of Logopolis, and you know then it's not going to end well. It's got that real feel, hasn't it? It's got a very
It's something they tried to. I would argue they tried to recreate for Tennant's last story, which was the 2-parter for the end of time. Because they knew David was going, and I think, everybody was going. Russell was going, Julie was going, Phil was going. They were all going, and I think they tried to bring that sort of sense in, but it didn't quite have that. It didn't hit the mark for me as Logopolis did. Maybe it's because I was slightly older than 11 when I watched The End of Time originally, just slightly. But it could be, it could be that sort of stuff. I don't know.
No, I think I agree with you, JT. I didn't feel. I think after Logopolis and then just sort of, and after other regeneration stories, it was just seemed maybe a bit too sort of overblown when it came to Tennant thing. It was almost like,
I agree.
It was not subtle. It was just like thrown off, and particularly that end bit where he goes around, just stares all emo-like, all the yellow like.
You know what they were?
Tiny bit cringy.
I loved all that. I absolutely loved it. Every single moment of it. It was like nectar for me. Logopolis
They knew they were
so
going to get
sad
an
for me as a
audience with
9-year-old.
Tenet, though, didn't they? They knew the audience was there with Tenet. They knew they were going to get people watching it because it was on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, and they had to go out with that. Boom!
But it just goes on too long, isn't it? It's too much. It's like go now, go. We're done.
Yeah.
There's something about the
I
watch.
can't hear Murray Gold is playing.
Where's the new guy? Bring the new
There's
one
something
on.
about the Watcher. I think the Watcher gets referenced quite a lot. Of people have talked about it in the chat here. So ominous, implacable. Almost he's facing death and the crumbling TARDIS.
I love the Watcher. I won't have anything said against the Watcher because I think that creation of the Watcher was so unique. It hasn't happened again since, and it fitted that story and how Bidmead came up with that idea. I still think that really is Doctor Who magic.
It's literally sending shivers down me now just thinking about Logopolis. It's just genius.
And the score as well, isn't it? I mean, that whole score there for the music. I mean, how gorgeous was it? And it was it was done with so much respect, considering we now know what was going on behind the scenes. It was done with respect. There's the longest serving Doctor to date saying goodbye. And a whole generation.
It has dignity.
Amazing. Amazing stories.
It does. We have, who else we got in the chat? We have, the TARDIS crumbling. The end of time was mostly rubbish. I strongly disagree, but I know that's probably a story for another time. But I know there's lots of people have wild views on that. And the Watcher was a cool concept. The Watcher is very popular all around.
I know action figure yet character options. What are you doing? I want a figure. I want an action figure.
One more pretty picture before we go, everybody. One more pretty picture.
My God!
That's this. Yes, back to the Daleks. Wow. I saw this the other day for the very, very first time.
They used to have that in the ice cream van that came around. It used to hang up on the wall.
Mint and chocolate, a very Dalek-y flavour.
When you lick a Dalek, as you should do, Barnaby, next time you can, they are actually mint and chocolate. I can guarantee you that from personal experience.
Most people I wouldn't believe, but you said, JT, I believe you.
That's answered my question because I never had a Dalek Death Ray lollipop that I remember, and I wondered if any of you have ever had a Dalek Death Ray lollipop and what they tasted like. Lee's shaking his head too.
I literally lived on these things in the 70s. I lived on them. They were fabulous.
That's why most of us were
overweight. Them now. They were brilliant. I still love mint and chocolate flavour in anything. And it's because of the Daleks' Death Ray. They were brilliant.
Yeah, they were gorgeous.
Daleks, but they were fabulous. I loved them.
Bear in mind, Lee, that we've already said that like Big Finish should sort of go into making animation and maybe even live. Do you think we could persuade them to go into making ice cream too and bring back the Dalek?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Nick?
Speak to Nick for us, will you?
I'll be tweeting you later. Yes. Yeah. So if there was any ice cream that's around now, Simon, what's the closest there is to getting a Dalek Death Ray in supermarkets now?
Close. There's nothing. It's not a Magnum. You can forget your Magnums, your posh chocks. These were posh chocolate. They were fantastic. There's nothing similar to a Dalek Death Ray. They were unique. Were they not, JT?
Oh, I totally agree. And the summer of '76. I remember having one of those. I had one of those.
The wrapper was really quite thin and it was matte and it was literally just three colours, black, green, and orange. As you see,
I remember
was it a waxy paper like?
Yeah, waxy. That's it. It was waxy paper.
But I remember being very annoyed with that wrapper because I wanted to keep it being the collector I was back then, and I could never take the thing off properly to keep it. And my mum would always put it in the bin. Yeah, it was really annoying. But I also remember having a Dalek Death Ray the very night Leela turned up on television.
There you go. Memories that last a lifetime. I tried to save some wrappers as well to some Doctor Who chocolate bars that I think were released around Colin Baker's debut. And I wanted to keep them forever and to put them in the fridge. And that nonsense was quickly stopped by my mother, Barnaby. But they would turn a funny
time. You should know better. Ridiculous.
I think Colin would be Tutti Frutti flavoured, wouldn't he?
It'd be chocolate with jelly beans set inside. Talons of Wayne Chiang says the wrappers were very papery. Yes,
they
thank
were.
you.
They were good old-fashioned 70s British paper.
I just remember them sort slightly solid ice cream, gloriously papery. Snap, Simon, those lollies were lovely. Wasn't there a story on the inside of the wrapper, or am I remembering that?
No, there was, as I recall, there was on the back. There was a little. I can't remember whether it was a little story in one wrapper or whether it was a serial that you had to collect all of them. I can't remember. There was something definitely on the back, story-wise. I
think they were self-contained little.
Yeah, I think they were.
Yeah.
Whereas the John Pertwee chocolate bars, which I can also remember, those did have a serialized story, and you had to collect about 50 of these chocolate wrappers to get the full story, the full serialized story on the John Pertwee.
Wow. Sounds like a dream.
They wouldn't allow that now.
No.
I love anything with mint chocolate as well. Simon Horton says, don't sure.
Yes.
Can't beat it, can you?
Well said, Duncan. Me too.
All that talk of ice cream's made me hungry. I don't know about you lot. Lee, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, don't feed the animals, but yeah, we've had a good time. Glad you have too. We'll be keeping a close eye on your channel. Subscribe to Lee's YouTube channel. Subscribe. Go watch those videos. Watch the videos and pressure him into making more when he has the odd hour here and there in between. Go and check out his content, all the stuff that he's working on for Big Finish. Have you got a social media account that people can follow your various projects on?
Just on Twitter and YouTube. That's all I use. I closed my Facebook a long time ago.
Good man.
So follow me on Twitter if you want to see anything updated. It's very rare because I'm usually busy, but I try my best. And the same with YouTube.
So what's the next thing that you've worked on that's coming out that you can tell us about? What's the next thing down?
The 11th Doctor Chronicles from Big Finish. That one has been shown off recently. Well, a little teaser of it. I still need to finish that one, but that one will be out in September. Okay. I think that one is. I think that's in September.
We'll look forward to that, and best of luck with all of your creative projects in the months in between. We'd love to have you back to talk more about the various things that you do, or even if you just fancy geeking out, we're always here talking absolute nonsense and banter and whatever else here on the Facebook channel and Type 40 Live. And yeah, if you've enjoyed it and you haven't liked the video, we're going to wait around, all of us, until you like that. Yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, you can watch more of these live streams. There's now, this is number 19, so it's, an entire first season here where we had Bob Baker and Paul Tams here on the K9 show. We had various other people. Alex Storer, he was in. We had Gary Beekler, he was on one. We've had various people drop in for the odd show, and lots of our regular panelists, all those voices that you love to hear, arguing, bickering, and showing off our knowledge of Doctor Who and talking back to the chat and just having a laugh, really making fools of ourselves with terrible impressions. If and when we have to. There's the very latest edition of the Type 40 podcast itself, where Simon and I spoke to Richard Molesworth from BBC Studios about the Season 8 Blu-ray box set and the whole history, the legacy of Doctor Who in home media. That was a blast. There's lots more coming soon. Yeah, we're going to drag Richard back for more of that at some point in the future. But yes, it's a great podcast, even if I say so myself. If it's not just Doctor Who that you're into, other sci-fi, don't miss Hard Drive. Talking about the Orville, going through episode by episode, 2 at a time through the Orville, seasons 1 and 2, while we look across at other sci-fi and fantasy shows on episode 4, which dropped a couple of days ago, that we talk about WandaVision there in some detail. Was it a hit? Was it a miss? Does it deserve certified status from the Hard Drive crew? That's myself, Ian David Diaz, Keith Isles, and the Rabbi. That's our sort of after dark podcast. It's parental advisory, I think they say. all of that for you to enjoy here on the Spacebook channel on YouTube. That does wrap us up this time, gentlemen. It's been a blast, a Dalek blast. Wow. Yes, it's tea time. Everybody, thanks for joining us in the chat.
Bye-bye, Spacebookers.
Lots of people saying goodbye. We've got a polite lot here, Lee. They're very polite. Yes, thanks, panel. Thanks to all in the chat. Catch you all later.
Thanks to you.
Now, that's Ephemera, Simon and JT. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody for watching. And yeah, we're back with more Type 40 and Type 40 Live soon. But that is it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Bye-bye.